We've got several different stories to cover from several different media outlets. It's time for another episode of the World's Newsround. Let's go, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another premiere video of the World's Newsround, where I cover various stories and news from outside of the UK. The date and time of this recording is Friday, the 27th of September at around 2:05 p.m. UK time. We've got six stories to cover here on the premiere video, and starting here with this one from CNN, a very worrying one indeed, that the Pope expels a bishop and 9 other people from a Peru movement over sadistic abuses. So I think it's no secret to the world that there are, and within its history, that that there has been a long history, whether it's in many countries, where unfortunately young people have been sexually abused as a result of the power that the people in certain religions have over others, and it's a disgusting and horrible trade, using God as a means to fulfill these disgusting insanities or feelings that these people that some of these people have, and it's incredibly violent, sickening. Obviously, this is from a Peru movement, so this is one story that's only just come to light a couple of days ago. But I think it's also like as disheartening as stories like these are, it's worth reminding is that religion is while religion does cause a lot of negativity, cause a lot of hate, religion also brings people together, and I think as well. But it's just unfortunate that there are people who go into a religious belief or culture, or that they're born into it, and they use it as a motive to take advantage of others, and we see that across other religions. There are make no mistake, there are many good people who are of religion, of a belief in God, or of a God, or kind of God, or no God at all, who try to invoke their religion onto others for all the right reasons, for all the good reasons, that it would help people. There are been cases where it has made a difference to people's lives. It has saved people's lives. There's been many cases in America where people have found God, and God has saved their life and changed their life around. It seems like a fanciful story, but it has proven that to be the case. But there are also this is the other side of religion and the power that it can have. When people can use it to take advantage of others, and it needs to be called out for wherever it happens and wherever it is done. This is just a picture of Pope Francis, who was attending a mass there. So Pope Francis took the unusual decision on Wednesday to expel 10 people, a bishop, a priest, and lay people, from a troubled Catholic movement in Peru, after a Vatican investigation uncovered sadistic abuses of power, authority, and spirituality. The move against the leadership of the Solidarium Christianity Valid, or Solidarium of Christian Life, followed Francis' decision last month to expel the group's founder, Luis Afagi, after he was found to have sodomized his recruits. So sodomized them, basically converted them into thinking that what they are doing to them is an act of God, or is in God's will, or something like that along those lines, pretty much. It was announced by the Peruvian Bishops' Conference, which posted a statement from the Vatican Embassy on its website. The statement was astonishing because it lists abuses uncovered by the Vatican's investigation that have rarely, if ever, been published candidly, such as hacking someone's communications and citing the people the Pope held responsible. The move is likely to be welcomed by some of the victims who spoke to CNN earlier this year, and had urged the Vatican to take serious measures against the perpetrators after decades of impunity. According to the statement, the Vatican's investigation uncovered physical abuses, including with sadism and violence, said like abuses of conscience, spiritual abuse, abuses of authority, economic abuse in administrating church money, and the abuse of exercise of the apostate of journalism. The latter was presumably aimed at Solomon-linked journalists who had attacked critics of the movement on social media. Figueroa founded the movement in 1971 as a lay community to recruit soldiers of God, one of several Catholic societies born as a conservative reaction to the left-leaning liberalization Lafferty movement that swept through Latin America. Started in the 1960s at its height, the group counted about 20,000 members across South America and the United States. It was enormously influential in Peru. Victims of Fague's abuse complained to the Lama Archdiocese in 2011, though through other claims against him reportedly date to 2000. But neither the local church nor the Holy Sikh took concrete action until one of its victims, Pedro Sandles, wrote a book along with the journalist Pagala Ugaz dealing with the twisted practices of the Solomonium in 2015, entitled Half Monk, Half Soldiers. An outside investigation ordered by Solomonium later demanded that Fagué was a narcissistic, paranoid, demeaning, vulgar, vindicative, manipulative, racist, sexist, enlisted and obsessed with sexual issues and sexual orientation of the Solomonium members. The investigation, published in 2017, found that Fagué solemnized his recruits and forced them to fondle him and one another. He liked to watch them experience pain, discomfort, and fear, and humiliate them in front of each other to enhance his control over them, the report found. I do apologise if some of this description may be uncomfortable if you're listening to this. Still, the Holy See declined to expel Fagué from the movement in 2017 and merely ordered him to live apart from his Solomonium community in Rome and cease all contact with it. The Vatican was seemingly tied in knots by canon law and could not foresee such punishments for founders and religious communities who weren't priests. Victims were outraged. The Vatican's investigation minister, Mr. Jordi Bonamou, on the right there from Spain, and the Archbishop Charles Sengadi from Malta. According to the findings of the latest Vatican investigation, the abuses went beyond Fagué, including Solomonian clergy who were also involved in harassing and hacking the communications of their victims, all while covering up crimes committed as part of their official duties, according to the statement. The investigation was carried out by the Vatican's top sex crimes investigators, Maltese Archbishop Charles Singlia and Monsignor Jordi Bonamescu, from the Dong Dicastery of the Doctrine of the Faith, who travelled to Lima last year to take testimony from victims. The highest ranking person ordered expelled was Archbishop Jose Antonio Eguren, whom France has already forced to resign as a bishop in Piña in April over his record after he sued Santilia and Hugues for their reporting. In addition to Fagué's own abuses, their reporting had exposed the alleged forced eviction of peasants on land and Edwin's decoys by a Solomon-linked real estate developer. Hugues, the journalist, welcomed the move to expel the 10 people and said the reference to the Solomon hacking referred to her. She said her communication had been hacked in 2023 after she reported on the Solomon offshore holdings and other financial dealings. She said she believed the group was trying to find out her sources. It is a demonstration that in Peru, the survivors would never have found justice and repatriation without Bermudo and Salia, because the Solomon is an organization with a lot of political, social, and economic power, she said in a statement to the Association Press. The Vatican, in a statement, said the Peruvian bishop joined Francis in seeking the forgiveness of the victims, while calling on the troubled movement to initiate a journey of justice and reparation. CNN contacted Fagué's lawyers for comment without a reply. He has denied all allegations against him in the past. CNN also reached out to the Archbishop Jose Antonio Eguren's representative without reply, and has also reached out to Solomon's Christian Vague. This is it's not just one or these two people. I think it's a lot deeper than that. That's considering that this movement has a serious movement within within Peru specifically, and it has a sway within other parts of South America, and as mentioned in the article, and also in America. That is incredibly scary. Now, obviously, it may just be a minority of people within the group, but that's not how I see it. It's a very strong perhaps maybe they should maybe should disband it altogether if this is continuing. The fact that the Vatican had to intervene is quite a huge move from that. But there will always be people, sadly, who will use religion as a means to take advantage of others, as I said at the start. And I would like to say that I hope those who are victims get the justice that they deserve, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it as well, guys, on it. But it is a disgusting, to say the least. Anyone who's been forced to do these kind of things against their will because they've been told that it's God's doing and whatnot, it's very sickening, to say the least, you guys. The next story I've got for you guys is from Al Jazeera. I haven't really covered Haiti for a while, but I do have one of the latest stories here from Al Jazeera, that at least 3,661 people have been killed in senseless Haiti gang violence this year from the UN. So the UN rights chief calls for a crackdown on armed trafficking that fuels criminality and widens humanitarian crisis. So in a shorts video that will come out either over the weekend, and I'll highlight it here as well, is that it looks like Kenya are going to be deploying more police forces to the capital. Since the Kenyan police forces that have been initiated into Haiti, there has been a bit more reduction in terms of some of the senseless violence. There has been a bit more control in the country, especially around the Port-au-Prince, and from reports that I've heard since then, so which is a good sign. For those who don't know the context, and I'll just quickly run back the context here. So Haiti has been in an absolute country that's been in absolute torment for such a long time, because people want to know what's the connection between Haiti and Kenya. Haiti has been struggling as a nation for a very long time and has never been able to find its stability or form a government and keep it together without some kind of coup or something blowing up in their face, unfortunately. It's a very impoverished country that its people are struggle with, unfortunately. And the US has bailed it out on numerous occasions throughout its history with its own forces, and America simply have just gotten tired of doing that. So the UN, in cooperation with America and Kenya, who have actually used their police force to help out other nations deal with certain civil wars and whatnot. They have a history, Kenya, of doing some of these things, but they've never done something as if going all the way to somewhere like Haiti to contribute and try and help out. So the US supplied money towards this, and with the cooperation of the United States and with the current Haiti Council, the Haitian Council that was formed recently, and with its president, about 10,000 Kenyan police forces came to Haiti several months ago now, I think it was, since we last reported, to try and quell the gangs, because there are lots of gang violence out of control, so out of control in Haiti that basically the police and military just can't control. It's out of control. Like, they were even at control of the capital. So the idea was obviously that these Kenyan police forces would help bring about more control and stability. And my premise is always has said, once that control and stability is finally there, once the gangs are dealt with and there's a bit more peace and security in Haiti, that they could finally have their election, because they've never been able, they haven't had a chance for a good while now to be able to elect a president. The current one is one that stepped in, as the last one had to stepped away because of fears of reprisal from gang violence and whatnot. So for a long time now, Haiti have not had an elected president. And the people of Haiti, one of the things that's also driving is obviously not just the poverty and the economy and everything that's going on. There's obviously the fact that they don't get a say. They're not having a voice really at the moment. So understandably, the people are upset and frustrated. What I've always said is that until that there is peace and calm within Haiti, you can't have an election. There needs to be stability. There needs to be calm. And my hope is that with the Kenyan the police forces helping quash down on the gangs, help bring more stability and security in Haiti, that it will eventually lead to having a democratic election, which Haiti really needs, so that they can choose their president, and hopefully that new president can then lead Haiti to better and prosperous futures. At least that is the hope, obviously. Yes, they do suffer a lot as from where they are from a geopolitical prospect when it comes to such as earthquakes and tsunamis. They have suffered as a result as well, which is absolutely abhorrent. But I still hope that with the help of international communities and of course with Kenya in this as well, that there can be stability in this. But while the numbers here are nowhere near the levels that what's happening with Gaza or Sudan, with all due respect to other conflicts as well, this is obviously this is and that's just on this is on senseless gang violence as well. This is so Haiti is its own humanitarian crisis that needs to be dealt with. But yeah, I hope that kind of brought up to speed for those who don't know about Haiti and why. This is a story that really needs to keep an eye on, and the UN obviously needs to help with as much as it possibly can. So at least 3,661 people have been killed in Haiti in the first half of this year amid the senseless gang violence that has engulfed the country, according to the United Nations. So the UN Office for High Commissioner for Human Rights, the OHCHR, said on Friday that the death toll between January and June, which included 100 children, showed that last year's high level of violence had been maintained. No more lives should be lost to this senseless criminality, said UN's Rights Chief Volker Turk in a statement. Haiti was already reeling from years of unrest as powerful armed groups, often with ties to the country's political and business leaders, filed for influence and control of territory. The situation was worsened dramatically at the end of April when the gangs launched attacks on prisons and other state institutions around the capital Port-au-Prince. The UN reports documented extremely serious patterns of human rights violations and abuses taking place in Port-au-Prince and the Abdomen department north of the capital. It also tracked the growing violence in the southern port of West Department, where the capital is located, an area of the country that has been so far been largely unaffected. According to the report, gangs have continued to use sexual violence to punish, spread fear, and subjugate populations. Violence in the country is fueled by arms traffic, primarily from the United States, but also from the Dominican Republic and Jamaica. The OCHCR said poorly monitored airspace, coastlines, and porous borders were allowing gangs to obtain high-caliber weapons, drones, boats, and seemingly endless supplies of bullets. Yeah, and they keep getting all these things, and yeah, they need to be cut. The gangs need to have these cut off. They need to try and cut this off, the arms trade to these gangs, because as long as they are getting all these things, they are going to continue to cause problems for the people of Haiti. But it's tough, obviously. It's very difficult. Turk has urged the international community to implement a global arms embargo, a travel ban, and a freeze asset program imposed by the UN Security Council. The surge in violence this year prompted the resignation of Haiti's unelected prime minister, the creation of a transitional presidential council, and the deployment of a UN-backed Kenya-led multinational force called the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS, as I mentioned earlier at the start. Around 10 countries have pledged more than 3,100 troops to the MSS, but only 430 of these have been deployed so far. Okay, so there's only been 430 of them so far. So, yeah, this is Kenyan police arriving at Port-au-Prince capital here as part of the UN-backed peacekeeping mission. The report was published days before the MSS one-year mandate to support Haiti's expires, with the UN Security Council scheduled to vote on September the 30th on whether to renew it. So by the time it's come out, then there'll be a question on whether to review it or not. Haiti have asked UN to consider turning it into a formal peacekeeping mission to secure stable funds and capacity. Turks said it was clear that the mission needed to adequate and sufficiently equipment and personnel to counter the criminal gangs effectively and sustainably and stop them spreading further and wreaking havoc on people's lives. On Wednesday, Haiti's interim Prime Minister, Gary Connell, called for international support on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. We are nowhere near winning this, and the simple reality is that we won't without your help, he said. The number of people internally displaced by the violence has almost doubled in the last 6 months of more than 700,000, while some 1.6 million people are estimated to be facing emergency food insecurity. Yeah, this is a situation that desperately needs the support of the international community. I have more optimism about this with the Kenyans than I do with some of the other crises that are taking place in the world. They have been through a lot, Haiti. They have been through a lot, and I really do hope that they can turn the tide in this and bring some stability to the nation. It will be a long time if they can have some peace and stability, but I really do hope it does bring about that. Obviously, I will try and keep an eye on it as much as I possibly can, but yeah, time will tell. We'll see how things go for the nation. That is for sure, guys. The next story I have for you guys is from Euronews. Yeah, it looks like Facebook, or shall we call them Meta, not exactly very good story headline for them here. So Meta have been hit with a €91 million fine for LAX password safety. So what is this about? So let's read a bit more into it before I give my thoughts. So the big tech company Meta is ordered to pay a €91 million data protection fine for not having enough user password protection in place, the Irish data watchdog has said. So the US tech giant Meta has been hit with a €91 million fine by the Irish Data Protection Authority for failing to protect users' passwords, the privacy watchdog had announced today. The investigation was launched in April 2019 after Meta notified the Irish authority that it had inadvertently stored certain passwords of social media users in plain text, meaning without encryption, on its internal system. The EU's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, requires companies to implement inappropriate security measures when processing personal data. It is widely accepted that user passwords should not be stored in plain text, considering the risk of abuse that arises. Let's see if I can pause that. Sorry, that arises from personal access to such data. It must be borne in mind that the passwords are the subject of consideration in this case, and particularly sensitive, as it would enable access to users' social media accounts. Deputy Commissioner of the Irish DDP, Graham Dole, has said in a statement. This is extremely careless from Meta. They should I appreciate the fact that they notified about this. The question is, why did they allow it to happen in the first place? It just seems like, why would you put people's personal data at risk? Like, what is the matter with them? I mean, it really whoever's really responsible for the security and protection of Facebook users, Facebook, Instagram, Thread users, whoever really. I know, obviously, at the end of the day, Mark Zuckerberg is the one who needs to take the overall bullet for this, but he obviously has a team and different teams in different departments and whatnot. So it's those in the security departments need to be asking questions and need to be put under the spotlight here of why these were put at risk in the first place. That's the question that I have. The Irish regulator submitted a draft decision to other EU national supervisory authorities, and in June of 2024, as required under the EU's data protection rules, no objections to the height of the penalty were raised. Interesting. He's not the first GDPR fine for Meta, and in 2023, the company was hit with a record £1.2 billion fine by the Irish regulator for continuing to transfer personal data of users from the European Economic Area to the US after the EU's highest court invalidated the EU to US data transfer agreement due to surveillance concerns. In 2022, Meta was fined 265 million euros after data of more than 553 users were found dumped online. This is really, yeah. This is very careless of them, and this is where more they needs to crack. Not just the EU, but other nations need to crack down on more on Meta. I'm sure they are more careful in the US because obviously that's where they're based. But more needs to be done to ensure the security and safety of all those who use Meta. I use Meta. You know, I use Facebook. I use Threads. I use Instagram, as you guys may or may not know. And obviously it's a cause for concern for me, and it's a cause for concern for many people who do use those social media platforms. If they're not especially when they're playing around with people's data, you know, that's very sensitive. Some of the data are extremely sensitive, understandably so. But it appears to me that these fines aren't, like, considering that they've had previous fines in the past, it almost feels like it's like kind of going in one ear and going one out the other. They're not taking these fines seriously enough. So perhaps maybe something a bit more strident needs to come from the EU and maybe they need to say something to the US about them and kind of maybe fines are not enough. Maybe perhaps threatening with jail time or something might be a bit more, might make them stand up and take a bit more action on this. Whether they will or not is obviously another thing, but yeah, it's just another case of social media companies running away and not taking ownership responsibility for their actions, unfortunately, you guys. So we've got a couple more articles for you guys here. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across the social media so others are notified of this video. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p. It may not sound like a lot of money, but 99p can make a massive difference. It really does. Financially support me in the channel and the work I do. This is my main source of revenue. So if you do find the content that I provide on this channel informative, helpful, and useful to you, one of the better ways that you can support me is just by joining the YouTube membership for just 99p. You get access to custom emojis, access to membership community posts. Whenever you comment on my videos, I normally respond to members on my videos as well. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for me to respond. And also you get early access to additional content as well. So you get all these perks just for being a 99p member as well. So thank you to everyone who has supported me in any way, shape or form. It's greatly appreciated. So guys, I'm going to break the ice a little bit with a funny video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one here. This one here is from Foil and Arms. Here, I actually have two videos from them, so we'll have one more for them at the end of the premiere video of this premiere video here. This one is called Home Appliances Throwing a Party. I hope you guys enjoy this one from them.
Dishwasher! Fridge! Sorry I'm late, I had to cycle. I'm trying this new eco thing. It takes forever.
Hey everybody, this is my cousin.
Hey there.
He came over from America. Come on, washing machine. You've been in there for 15 minutes.
I'm finished. I'm just not opening the door yet.
I just think you should separate the whites from the colours.
What?
What do you want?
Oh my God.
How's that controversial? I just don't want them to mix it. Oh.
Well.
You're old.
Oh, you're just a fad.
You want to go?
Let's do it.
All right, let's
Come
go.
on, let's go. Well, actually, I just need about 20 minutes to warm up.
You serious?
Yeah.
Jesus. So then I say to him, I'm just not that bright.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like when you're dealing with bulbs.
Not that bright. I'm sorry I made fun of you in the noughties.
No, don't worry about it. It's
No, it's not fine. Now I know how it feels.
Guys, who keeps leaving the door open? You're letting all the heat in. Hey, you want ice in that?
Only if it's no trouble.
No, it's no trouble.
Cool. Oh, yeah. No thanks.
You sure?
Yeah.
So then I said, well, maybe I'm just projecting. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just,
I'm just
he's projecting because
you know,
he's a,
I'm a...
well, he's a projector. What's the time?
Oh, I don't know.
Please, I need to know the time.
Why?
Because it's important. Anybody have the time?
If I'm projecting...
He's doing the kind of thing that
like
he's...
my namesake kind of...
Yeah, but not in the sense of his job, more in an emotional
You're not that bright.
So he says he wants to fight, but he's just full of hot air. I mean, I'm not obsolete. Like, there's lots of stuff that you can't, you know, I can still do. You know, you were an unbelievable listener.
Tell you what. Good night, everyone.
Projecting. Doomda.
That's a good one. Somebody they really tried to intrude some of the appliances there, the slow cooker there at the end. Oh, I hope you found that funny, guys. That was a funny one. I hadn't seen that one yet, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely a bit of fun there. We needed that to break the ice a little bit on all some of the stories we always get on this channel. But just before I go to the next story, guys, if you guys find that sometimes all these negative stories can bring you down, do check out the playlist, the good news, good vibes playlist, where I do once a week a good news story. There's a whole range of wonderful good news stories, so do check out that playlist, guys. If you fancy listening to some lovely stories as well as an alternative as well. Excuse me. And this next one I've got for you guys is from The Guardian. It is related to what's happening in the Middle East, but it is related to the Middle East. Let me just put it like that. Let me just hold on a second. There we go. So Norwegian police are seeking a missing man over pages in the Hezbollah blast. So an international arrest warrant has been issued for Winston Jose, who disappeared during a work trip to the US last week. So allegedly, this Winston Jose is apparently may or may not have been responsible for the pages may have been in connection to what happened with these pages that went off last week on Tuesday, where pages blew up and killed dozens of Hezbollah people, associates in Lebanon. I don't think this is just particularly on pages. I don't know if this is the same person. If the same person has connections to the walkie-talkies as well, but it's entirely possible as well. So let's read a bit more into this, because obviously I'm sure there's a bit of confusion about what's Norwegian police got to do with this. So, police in Norway have put out an international search warrant for a Norwegian Indian man in connection with the sale of pages to the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah that exploded last week, killing dozens of people. So Winston Jose, 39, is the founder of a Bulgarian company that is alleged to have been part of the pages supply chain that went missing during a work trip to the US last week. Now, originally, that's very interesting, because originally the pages were from a company in Thailand. And then there were connections to a company based in Hungary, and now we have this guy who is the founder of a Bulgarian company that is alleged to be part of the pages supply chain. This makes it all the more complicated as to who is responsible to this. I'm sure the other companies allegedly involved would have responded, but it's interesting that there's a lot of different entanglements that are behind this. So on Thursday, Oslo police said, yesterday the Oslo Police District received a missing persons report in connection with the pager case. A missing persons case has been opened. We've sent out an international warrant for the person. Jose declined to comment on the pages when he was contacted by Reuters on September the 18th and hung up after being asked about the Bulgarian business. He then failed to respond to multiple calls and messages. Ooh, that's very interesting. His employer, a DN Media Group, said Jose, who works in the Norwegian media company sales department, departed for a conference in Boston on September 17th. And since the following day, the company has been unable to contact him. Now, I will also put this out there, because obviously this is being recorded a day before. It's entirely possible he may have been apprehended or arrested since then. So we have to take that into account when you guys are listening to this. According to the Bulgarian corporate registry, Jose founded Nolia Global Limited, based in the capital Sofia in 2022. Bulgarian authorities have investigated the company's role in supplying the pages, but did not find evidence that were made in or exported from Bulgaria. Jose is a Norwegian citizen and was born in another country, the broadcaster NRK have reported. The unprecedented pager attack, which has been blamed on Israel, led to the death of 12 people, including 2 children, and wounded up to 2,800 others. Following day, 25 people were killed and more than 450 wounded on walkie-talkie explosives in Lebanese supermarkets, at a funeral on the streets there. So this is a very interesting, shall we say, I'm going to say side story to what's happening in the Middle East, because obviously we at the time there was obviously questions, and I remember us talking about this. I didn't actually think that they would be actually put the possible connection from someone from that, but it looks like Reuters had picked up some information there, and obviously you don't go spooking, go disappearing unless you know something that you shouldn't know. This clearly he must know something, because otherwise why would he disappear? Yeah. I'm not saying that he's responsible for this, but you have to remember, we have to stress here that these are allegations, but and having an international arrest warrant issued for you is definitely questions being raised. That is for sure. So obviously if he was in the United States, there's a good chance he'll get picked up if he tries to leave the country. I don't know how. He may even just go into exile, into hiding in America, possibly. I hope not, because we just want answers to knowing who in the end was responsible for these pages that got put where they were, and Israel able to put the devices in that they put in that led to that horrendous attack, because it was a horrendous attack by Israel what they did. I just want to know who was behind it at the end of the day, and it makes him look very, very guilty in it. That is for sure, guys. That I'm sure if I don't cover, I won't cover. I'm sure over the next week or so, if I do find a development of this, I'll try and pick it up in a shorts or on one of our world live streams when we talk about it, guys. So another short story I've got for you guys here is from African News. It is a very small one here, but I do want to cover this one for you guys here. So gunfire has been reportedly erupted in Conakry, Guyana's military junta reports calls the reports fabricated. So Guyana, like one or two other nations, really do suppress a lot of media. So it's very hard to get to know what's going on in certain countries, because they suppress the media, because they believe certain medias, unless they control them themselves, they believe they're misleading or misinterpreting what's happening in their countries. And this is another one, unfortunately. It's a short one here for you guys, but Guyana's army locked down the city centre for a short time on Thursday following reports of gunfire near the presidential palace. So, according to a diplomatic official who spoke to AP, a handful of dissident soldiers opened fire on the special forces surrounding the palace before special forces overpowered them. And the officials also alleged that the soldiers were loyal to the Colonel Celian Bulavig, and Bulavig's body was found earlier in the week, a year after he mysteriously vanished following his arrest by special forces. However, in a statement on national television, the ruling military junta denied reports of gunshots, referring to them as fabricated, and he advised the residents to go about their lives as usual. And since the soldiers overthrew the president Alve Condon in 2021, the country has been led by a military junta, and the West African regional blog, the ECOWAS, has urged for a return to civilian rule and elections to take place next year. A series of West African nations, including Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, are also led by military juntas in the wake of coups. Yeah, military juntas are not in the best interest of its people. It's just an interest of holding on to power, and that's what it is there. And it's very, very dangerous for people, to go in there, especially if you're journalists, to go into those countries without potentially disappearing if you're not careful. Especially run by military juntas who obviously at the end of their day, when they have when they literally are the military, and there's no civilian government whatsoever, so people can't make any decisions for themselves. And they overthrew the president back in 2021 as well. So that is very, very worrying, to say the least, you guys. This is not going to be a short World News round for those wondering, because I'm for those who are wondering, just because I am short on time today, but I did want to get one out for you guys. But I do have one last story for you guys, an interesting one to end on. I do have a funny video after, but let us cover this last one for you. This one is from the Associated Press. We've talked about what's happened in Venezuela before, but I wanted to share this story from them here. So the headline, I know you can't see it, it says Venezuelans crossing the Darien Gap said they have lost hope after July's election. So obviously this was to be expected, unfortunately. So after Morado cheated his way into becoming a president again, and we know that he shouldn't be president. We know it was we know in every way, shape or form that he did not win the presidency, because he refuses to show the evidence that he actually won the presidency, and it has forced a lot of people to flee the country, because those who have stood up and protested and for those who stood up and protested, who fought for free and fair elections, and obviously they didn't get it, and that they can't live in that country. They feel they needed to abandon their country because they feel that they've lost it now, and this is what they've had to do. They've had to flee, and this is we talk about so many, and this is what leads to the talk about migration. If you're not prepared to help out the nations who are struggling, who need help, and things that drastically need changes, you're going to have more things like this, especially when you allow dictators to take control of the country against the will of its people. And the will is that the Venezuelan people wanted change. They wanted something different, and they weren't given it. And he rigged the election to show that he won when in fact he didn't. And he just threw lots of money at mercenaries and whatnot, because there were even some police officers and military who were turning on him after the election had been after it as well. And he's just clamped down on all of it. And now people are forced to flee. And this is the story of some of those people who are fleeing and crossing vast rivers and whatnot to try and find sanctuary in other nations, or in particular the United States. So Venezuelans are trekking across the Darien Gap, a rigged jungle passage between Colombia and Panama. They're making the perilous journey because they lost hope for change after a contentious presidential election handed victory to President Nicolas Maduro. Spy vote tallies released by the opposition showing that his competitor won by a landslide. We stayed waiting for the election results because if Morado left power, then we would stay. But nothing happened, said Enrique Doris, 46, a former cab driver from the central state of Cabarito, who left Venezuela last week with his wife and an 8-year-old son, Emmanuel, and 4 other family members. Don't worry, he's not dead, he's just chilling. Just tired from tiredness, that's all it is. Boats taking migrants to Las Palmas there on the left there. These were literally pictures from yesterday from the Associated Press, guys. Migrants arriving to boat by Las Palmas in Panama there on the right as well. And you can see a young child there as well being put through this journey. Tucked in a tent in Lebeles Banas camp, he reflected Thursday on a raging river and heavy downpours that the family had to face on their 4-day trek across the dense jungle. Once believed to be nearly impossible to cross. Money is not enough. You get desperate and you have to look for a better future for your children, he said. Last year, more than 500,000 migrants, a record number, crossed through the Darien on their way to the United States. More than 60% of them were Venezuelans, fleeing economic and political turmoil by the millions. Those who didn't migrate held on to hope that their country, once one of Latin's wealthiest, would someday bounce back. While migration from Venezuela has since slowed across the border from record levels. The dispute results of the July elections and the state repression that followed was the final straw, and many feared it could potentially trigger a new wave of migration. So down the left is police inspecting children there as they go into Panama there. On the right there, Panamanian immigration officer taking the fingerprints of one there. That was actually from someone who was from the Democratic Republic of Congo, apparently there. Cell phones of migrants get their batteries charged at the cost of $1 per hour at a camp for people who walk across the Darien Gap in the hopes of reaching the US. There, that's in. That was again yesterday in Lagos, Panama. And on the right there, migrants from Nepal who use their phones at a camp for people who walk across the Darien Gap in hopes of reaching the US. Again in Panama. This was also yesterday, Thursday. We feel very disappointed after the election, which was a total fraud, said Rosmus Angelo, a Venezuelan staying with other migrants in a small Red Cross reception centre on Thursday morning at the mouth of the Jungle Passage. Angelo arrived in the camp after travelling by boat from Banjo Chantillo, where migrants make their first registration with Panamanian authorities, after trudging days through the jungle on foot. It's getting harder and harder. Our relatives are getting sick, Angelo said, as a fellow traveller was carried on by a stretcher by members of the Red Cross. Migrants reset after at a camp near the Trekking Cross at the Darien Gap from Colombia in hopes of reaching the US. There, tired children there. These are all pictures from Thursday. Like Angelo, many of the Venezuelans arrived in Lagos Blancas, said they made the decision to leave shortly after Venezuela's electoral authority handed victory to Morado, despite vote tallies released by the opposition showed that his competitor won by the landslide. More than half a dozen Venezuelan migrants interviewed said they held out until several weeks after the election, hoping for a favourable outcome for opposition candidate Emmanuel Gonzalez, who has since left the country, and encouraged by street demonstrations led by their leader Marina Colamacho. For us to say in government winning again means there will be no improvement in the country, said Laura Nevada, a migrant travelling with 13 family members, including several children. When people complain about migration and high levels of migration, I've said this before and I've said this again. If you're not willing to help these other nations that are struggling, don't complain about high levels of migration. Migration is a normal factor in life, but if we don't help other nations who are more misfortunate than others, you will always have high levels of migration. You can reduce migration. It is just about whether or not international governments, international communities are willing to act more, not just on climate, not just on war, but on those who oppress the nations that they rule against the will of all these people here. Migrants sitting on a northbound bus heading to Costa Rica. So they're hoping to set up their lives in Costa Rica. And that's all for that story, pretty much. But yeah, these people obviously going through this trek and this trouble because Morado would not let go of power, and it's a very sad state of affairs. And it means that more migration will come to the American border, whether they like it or not. I mean, they already have migration issues, but it's only going to exacerbate because of what's happened in Venezuela, because that Morado is holding on to power and no one is doing anything about it. And it's very sad because people wanted change and they didn't get it. And the thing is that if you shout too loudly, you might end up disappearing, as is the case for some people in Russia, sadly. And that's the situation, unfortunately. I really feel for these families and people who just wanted something different. They just wanted something different. They just wanted something to change. They wanted to change and they didn't get it. And my heart goes out to them. I really hope they find what they are looking for in wherever they go, whether it is Costa Rica, whether it's Mexico, whether they stay in Panama or if they make it to the United States, wherever it is they come from. I hope they find what they're looking for, and I hope they have new lives for themselves and their children. I generally hope that. So guys, just before we end it here on the World's Newsround. I wanted to give you guys at least one last funny story before we head out. Because normally I end with just on a sour note, but I wanted to give you guys a bit more of a more funnier one here on the world premiere. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is an interesting one here. It's getting past certain immigration laws, but this one, guys, trying to get past Canada. Can you get past Canada?
Granting you entry to Canada, I have a few simple questions. Where is the capital of Canada not found?
Toronto.
Correct. What do Canadians fear more than bear attacks, eh?
It being confused for Americans.
That's right. Which sticky liquid that Canada is famous for, if consumed in large amounts, can be bad for your health?
Crude oil.
That's correct. Which iconic leaf symbolizes Canada?
The cannabis leaf.
Correct. At least 2/3 of Canada is covered in what throughout the year?
Maple syrup.
Correct. What highly aggressive sport played on the ice is Canada well known for?
Seal clubbing.
Correct. What natural wonder flows from the Canadian border into the United States?
Marijuana.
Correct. What do Canadians do more than any other people in the world?
Apologize.
No, play ice hockey.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's a good answer. Sorry, no, you're right. The iconic Canadian dish poutine of French fries, gravy, and cheese is primarily consumed in which state?
Drunkenness.
Correct. Canada is next to which beautiful but inhospitable region?
The United States of America.
Correct. What is the most common type of moose found here in Canada?
Pantene Pro V.
Yeah, that's right. It's right up there with Trisame. In what part of Canada were the land claims of Indigenous people taken seriously?
None of it.
That's correct. The territory of Nunavut. Now, in Canada, do we say about or a boot?
About.
No, we say a boot. And Canada's cold, so when you're out and about, make sure you wear a boot. Next question. Do a Newfoundland accent.
What?
That's not fair.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know where to start.
Wow, that's absolutely perfect. And finally, what do Ryan Gosling, Celine Dion, Jim Carrey, Michael J. Fox, Pamela Anderson, Drake, and Keanu Reeves have in common?
They're famous.
Yes, but not that. Something else. Something to do with Canada?
They visited Canada?
No, they're Canadian.
What?
Really?
Yeah, why does everyone think our best people are American?
They're all Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but it gets pretty annoying after a while.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh, Justin Bieber. He's Canadian.
No, I don't think he is.
No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
No,
Bieber
no,
is
no,
Canadian.
no. Anyway, welcome to Canada.
He is
Bye bye now.
Is he-
I
Here's the
thought
door,
he-
boys.
You sure
Hurry
he's
up now.
definitely Canadian,
Give
though.
you a boot. Let's go.
No, they denounce all knowledge of Justin Bieber as a Canadian cis. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that funny video as we end the premiere video. Not as long as some of the other world premiere videos, guys, but let me know what you guys thought of some of the stories we covered today down in the comments section below. We covered, obviously, the horrific sadistic abuse by a movement in Peru that the Pope has expelled. The Pope and the Vatican have expelled. The violence, the continuous violence and senseless act that the gang violence is taking place in Haiti. Also talked about Meta being hit with another fine by a 91 million euro fine as well. Norwegian police seeking a missing man over pages connected to the Hezbollah blast from last week on Wednesday. Gunfire being reported in Guyana's military junta as well on that. And then finally, Venezuelans obviously leaving the country after the fraudulent election there. So let me know what you guys thought of all these stories plus more down in the comments section below. But just before I go, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.